Okay, well, I'm going to begin by asking, what can we expect of Cressida in this sort of sequel? Do we deviate too far away, perhaps, from the original sort of novel, or do we
No,
into new territory?
the Hunger Games team, the producers and the director, Francis Lawrence, were very respectful of the source material and how beloved it is by fans. So they really made a great effort to keep the movies as true as they could to the books. And Cressida, as people who know the books will know, she follows Katniss all the way through into her secret personal mission to go into the capital to try and kill President Snow. So she's right there at her side in the grand finale of this series.
And was it like sort of stepping into a franchise that you're already aware of? Because I'm assuming you would have seen the first movie and really enjoyed it. I mean, does it make it kind of easier to then inhabit that world? Or does it also almost make it more of a challenge because you've got kind of pre-established notions of what it might be like?
I watched the first Hunger Games movie and I was a huge fan, like you say. I mean, who couldn't be? It was a fantastic movie. And I had some experience of stepping in slightly late to the party of a huge phenomenon. I stepped in 1 year later than everyone else on Game of Thrones as well. So it was a very similar experience in just sort of being embraced into this massive family that already had a lot of history. And me and the other guys that played my camera crew, we were assimilated very quickly. Just to become part of the family. And no, I was excited about it, but I wasn't daunted about it. There wasn't time to be you feel daunted.
And though sort of set in a kind of dystopian fictional setting, is it very easy to connect to the character on a very human level and relate her into kind of contemporary sort of society in the sense that, I mean, we deal with kind of themes like propaganda and obviously war, kind of overthrowing this kind of government. I mean, can you kind of place her quite easily into the real world?
I can place Cressida into the real world 100% very easily. I mean, that was a lot of my research in doing the role is you just need to turn on the television. And anyone who has a smartphone and is sending pictures to the big news agencies at the moment in strife-ridden places in the world, I mean, that is effectively what Cressida is doing, is packaging a story. And, you know, everybody is a filmmaker in this day and age with a smartphone. So you need to turn on the news, and that's what Cressida's doing.
It must be so kind of wonderful to be a part of such a huge franchise, which has obviously got such a very sort of action-orientated franchise with a female-led story. I mean, that must be quite encouraging as well, to know there are parts like this out there.
It's incredibly encouraging. Katniss Everdeen has broken the mould. It's proved that a anti-heroine, as it were, someone who is flawed, but is heroic ultimately, in the shape of a female, can, you know, have a huge commercial success at the same time as being a critically acclaimed story. I think Hollywood has finally woken up to something that television has known for a while, that three-dimensional female roles are what stories are what an audience wants.
Conversely, does it frustrate you though that a lot of the focus on your role has been to do with your haircut?
He says, mentioning my haircut.
I know, mentioning the haircut. Getting a line about the haircut, yeah.
Look, it's... Yes, insofar as why do we always grab the aesthetic first? But that's human nature, and Cressida works in a visual medium. So Cressida would be the first to understand why people latch on to the visual first and foremost. But, you know, people have been very complimentary. It's true. President Coin, played by Julianne Moore, or Cressida by myself, those roles could have very easily been male. They're not. They were written by a female novelist, and it just goes to show that gender irrelevance almost is what we're ultimately looking for when it's not what gender the role is, but it's just about their personality and what journey they're on.
And just finally, very, very quickly, of course, you're in two huge franchises with The Hunger Games and Game of Thrones. I'm just wondering, what do you reckon you get recognised more for at the moment, if you're walking down the street?
I pretty much get recognised 50-50 for Game of Thrones or Hunger Games these days. And sometimes there's the odd wild card gets thrown in as Moriarty in Elementary, or, you know, or the Tudors comes back, Anne Boleyn will always be etched on my heart to a certain extent. So it's always fascinating, and the more roles I accumulate, then obviously people have different associations. But you know, a little bit of me gets left behind with every single role. So I'm happy for people to come and approach me regardless of what the character is.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
Pleasure.
Lovely.
Nice
Thank
to talk to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey,